Hello and welcome back to my channel, Checks, Captures, Threats, and in today's episode we're going over how to play the Queen's Gambit. So, this is going to be a bit different from the playlist that we've been going over right now, from just the beginner to intermediate. So, because we've kind of gone through many ideas but not the opening. So this playlist will be entirely based on openings for white and black. So hopefully you can now use this to hopefully start a game now using the ideas from the first 10 episodes as well to now create a good game. So today we're going to go over, as I said, the Queen's Gambit. We're going to go over two variations. So we have the Queen's Gambit accepted and also the Queen's Gambit declined. There is others, but that gets into a bit more depth and a little bit trickier. So for now, this is the position we see the most. Hopefully you've heard of the Queen's Gambit from the show with Beth Harmon, and this might be why you're getting into chess. So here we go. First we're going to go over the accepted. So it's called the Queen's Gambit, though a gambit is where you sacrifice the pawn. So in this scenario here, we're kind of letting this pawn, there's nothing's protecting it. But normally a gambit, you sacrifice a pawn and you win it over a very long time. Whereas in this one, white will definitely get it back within the next 5 moves probably. Because after this pawn moves, let's say it goes to e4, this bishop will now take this. Now there is ideas here, so we're going to go over them. So after here, the core idea is black accepts the gambit pawn but gives white the centre. So here, you've got this, and after e4, as we went over with the using the pawn effectively, we see how using the centre with these pawns really, compared to this pawn here, there's so much more for white. So then, but with this, now this is not just an opening I'm going to show as white, you can also place this black, the Queen's Gambit declined, so I'm going to use this both ways so you can have a white and black opening. So after this, let's say that they was able to get this centre, you can start using moves like c5, trying to regain the centre as black. So there is that. So there's also this, there is also e5 as well, so if I just played a move, e5 later on when you have the knight and everything coming in. So you really want to try and regain the centre as black, but as white you want to control it. So that's also there. You can also play e3 as white, same sort of thing. The only thing I would say here is it does block the bishop's line, but what you could do here is you could get it out first. There's many options here, but with this it's quite a tactical game. It's open. If you have a look between the two here, you see it's very lodged now, this position, whereas what we've just had before, this is quite a open free-for-all game now. This is what we call a tactical game because they're so open, there's so much here, but as you can see there's just so much open space in the centre. So there we go. Now the main thing here is later on as well, the idea is in towards the middle game is obviously still with space for white. You want to keep that centre, you do not want to get rid of that, so it's open position again. And for black, you aim for piece activity. So now that you've taken here, the difference we see between this blocks the bishop in. So doing this, after a few more moves, we'll play them, you see how black can get their pieces very open here. So as long as you do this, you see now it's not the worst game, and what you're looking for now is just some sort of simple pins, anything there, and then soon you'll have positions like this where it's white will have the centre and everything, but there is always simple ideas, something like that. Don't play exact variations like that. I was making some random moves here, but most of the time what you're going to see is for white, this sort of move, this bishop g5, because black will most likely castle kingside. So this is going to give you kind of the attack here, because white will also castle kingside. This is where these pawns can show an attack. So maybe after here, they move this and we capture. Soon, you know, we can push this sort of pawns, and after they bring a bishop out, we now can push this pawn. This is called a pawn majority. So we're getting all of these pawns now pushed from the queen side. We don't want to mess up this line like how we did in episode, I think it was 8 again, with how to use the pawns. We want to keep that when we castle. It's the best play we can. But we want to attack with the queen side, so just push all the pawns up, get all the pieces there, because it's going to be very weak against that. So there is this. Now that should be this is not played too much. Sometimes they will take it. But what you're looking for here is just to make sure you recapture the pawn as white, get the pieces simply out, castle kingside. These rooks, this rook, good and files like this. This is what we want. And for black, you just want to make sure you get all your pieces out. Don't cram anything in. It's an open game. Castle kingside. Don't ruin your pawn structure and try and fight off the pawn majority for white. Okay. Now, that is the Queen's Gambit accepted. Here is the Queen's Gambit declined. So, immediately as we see here, the bishop is blocked in. But there is many other things. So, this is now closed. So, it's going to be very difficult for pieces to come in and out. But there is that. Also, obviously, not accepting the Gambit. So, this is what you'll see. Top level as well. It's played a lot. So, you know, it's not just an opening for beginners or anything. This is, you can take this all the way. So, because I started when I was playing 6, and now I've played the Queen's Gambit since when I was like 13. So that's like 7 years of just the Queen's Gambit. You know, it helps. You know, just playing opening over time, you'll slowly understand the same things and the ideas, and you can just intertwine into your brain. So, there is other ideas here. So, for white, you want to put pressure on d5. So, stuff like knight c3, you know, and then trying to stop protecting and that. So, this bishop can come out for later to try and, so if they try and protect it, we can do the pin here, and this is all there. Okay, so we've got that. Now, the space advantage, if we look at the centre again, white controls more of the centre, really. That's why we're trying to put a lot of pressure here with the knight. You know, we're trying to make sure white secures that. But black has many ideas to try and stop it. You know, here they can bring bishops out weirdly. So, you've always got to be careful as white what black does, and when you're black, you've got to be careful how white attacks your pawns and how they're going to venture forward into the middle game. So, now, again, they're both going to castle kingside, no different there. So that's why, talking about this bishop move, you see how we're already attacking the kingside with this. So if they try and, when they castle, after a few more moves, this is all sort of the stuff you'll see now in a game. All of this, as it still says, we are still in a book right now, which means we're still playing theory moves. Now, this is the sort of position we'll have. It's quite closed, but there is many ideas here. You have, again, the pawn majority. Soon we'll want to push e4. And you see, d5 is always the fight. Now, there is times you can just take, but it opens it up again, and it does leave this file. Use it when you want to maybe if this pawn was gone, you could use it to get an open file. There's always ideas like that. But it's a very good opening in the fact that you have much leeway that you can do here. So, after here, now knight c3 is not always the best move. You can also play knight f3. So, you know, don't have to go d5 yet. We can do this later on. So, there is this. Now, that should be it, as we know. Just quickly, the middle game for this would be, obviously, like I've said, put pressure on d5.
Black would want to try and get later on into the game when we're back to all the way over here. Oh, no, it's not there. All the way for these sort of moves. You know, want to go c5, put that sort of pressure back, or e5 when knights come out. You know, I want to try and get that push. And hopefully black can also assume, if this knight ever goes, there is some play that after they castle and this knight can go, f5 can be a push. It's quite risky, but it can attack the king side. It might mess them up. So it's very strategic. Always play, you know, don't just make the moves like I'm saying, you know, this knight. Play to what you think, you know. After these moves, you know, there is many options you can do. So if they try and copy you, so after you do this, they copy you, there's many ideas here that you can just swap everything off. There's also other ideas that you want to protect everything. So whatever you want to go in, it's your game. You get to choose, kind of. So that should be it. We'll quickly go over. There's one more thing. When they do the accepted, we can, if they try and protect it, you know, trying to stop us getting this, we can soon attack it, you know, by going stuff like a4, and they obviously can't go a6 to protect it, as they cannot take because this. So they have to use many ways of trying to protect this pawn, and it just messes up. When you see this, they're kind of messing up their own structure. You know, they've got no pieces out. They've got, you know, these need to come out yet, and that's going to take another 3 moves. You've got 2 pawns in the centre here, and you can easily develop still around this piece. So now there is many different variations as well, I'd like to say. So don't be, this is the stuff that I won't go over now, but because we are on the end of the video, but they will play stuff like the Slav, and then you have the semi-Slavs. This is where you have this sort of, this does very much block the bishop in, but it has ideas. Then you've got stuff like the Albine counter gambit. This is a proper gambit, whereas you see nothing can capture it after, and even if they try here, you can put protection onto this. So there's many ideas there. Now, right, that should be it for today. Hopefully you understand that, and hopefully you get an understanding that now you can use this opening into your actual games. So remembering that, you know, when they do accepted, you're going to win the pawn back, and you want to have this pawn majority and get your pieces out as white. But as black, you want to kind of, you know, threaten the centre after you take with stuff like c5, get the knight out in e5, and then just simple piece development, castle, etc. And when it's declined, you want to play, you know, just get the pieces out again, same thing, but, you know, being careful about this whole centre being quite rigid and closed. So hopefully you have understood what the aspect was today. So that is all for today, so thank you and bye bye.